Welcome back to the Review Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for Apple's original TV series, The Essex Serpent. It's been one that I've been very excited to talk about. It's one that I was really excited to watch, but did it live up to my expectation? Don't forget to like and subscribe. It does help. Talk about it in the comments below without spoiling, if possible. Thanks so much for watching this. Let's jump in. The Essex Serpent follows a London widow, Cora Seaborne, who moves to Essex to investigate reports of a mythical serpent. She forms a bond of science and scepticism with the pastor, but when tragedy strikes, locals accuse her of attracting the creature. So Tom Hiddleston plays the pastor, and I think he plays it very kind of down, gritty, a guy that seems to be the grey skies over him seems to be affecting his kind of demeanor and nature. His wife is also very quiet in her disposition. And then we have Claire Danes, who is the widow, who is a recent widow, and she is, I guess she has a sense of freedom about her because she's kind of free from her marriage, and the series delves more into what was going on with her marriage. But so she's following her passion, and she hears this thing about the creature, and she wants to kind of explore that and see if there's any truth to the rumors of a sea creature. And so off she goes with her child and her best friend, and they form this relationship like it mentions in the synopsis. Tom Hiddleston's character Will, and Claire Danes' character Cora, he wants the truth to come out, but not at the expense of the town's superstition. He wants them to get away from their superstition but also still have faith, and he follows this weird balance. And then Cora tries to bring a logical scientific route to it. And then we have this kind of third wheel. Frank Delane plays as Luke Garrett, and he's a very interesting character. He's a surgeon. He's a lot of fun. I really like his acting in this. He brings a sort of, not a levity, but there is a joy to his character that's a bit more worldly, a bit more out there. And so we have all these characters mixing together in this really interesting story. Is it or isn't it story? Is there a serpent or isn't there? It gives you enough to keep you kind of guessing, but that story is, I guess it's put on the back burner for most of the episodes. So don't go in thinking, because I think you'll be disappointed that this is all about mystical and there's a lot of fantasy in this. There isn't that. It's more about how people react to like fantasism and how they go with that. If you've ever lived in a sea town, there's all these kind of superstitions that people stick to, or sportsmen, that kind of superstition of wearing your undies, for 6 days in a row. It's my lucky pair of underpants or something like that. So you take that and you embellish that a lot more. Somebody goes missing in a town, and then you have a superstition that grows, and it's a sea creature. Somebody spots it. Somebody sees something. Somebody's had one too many drinks, and the Loch Ness, the myth tends to keep growing. And this kind of plays with that, with the audience as well. Is it or isn't it? It's based off a book. The dialogue in here is, I think it's minimalistic, but when there is dialogue, the actors, there feels like there's much more weight to the dialogue that they are delivering. So even though some of the lines can be basic, how they're expressing that, what they're giving, what they're saying with their facial expressions, there's much more going on there. And so what the series comes down to in 6 episodes is all about those relationships, kind of who likes who ends up with who. So in amongst this superstition story, there are these relationships that grow and break and form, embellish the story. They play with storylines that can be frustrating. I found our main protagonist quite frustrating, the way she kind of, everybody around her seems to break because of her, and I think that's fine. I think that's exactly how you're meant to feel about this character. So it's not that it's bad writing, it's just that her character you are frustrated with often, but I think that's the emotion that it's meant to bring out. So everybody is on their A game, and when it comes to the cinematography, it lends itself into the kind of the mysticism fantasy. You have the dark grey skies for most of the series with these marshy lands, and you have these wide vistas that are often in foggy, or it's at night with beautiful fireplaces, or just really rich orange for the fire. And so you can see those colors forming in your mind, and it's the sort of embellishment of the fantasy that they're trying to imbue, well, the cinematographer and the director are trying to imbue into the viewer's mind. And I think they accomplish that. So with the really great acting, I mean, the cast here is fantastic. They're doing such a great job. It's not a happy story, but I think it's more about the journey that you go on with these characters. So by the time you reach the end, you're like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I guess that's where it would have gone. And that's kind of the story that I expected. It's more rooted in truth than fantasy. And I think for me, had I gone in knowing that more, I think I would have enjoyed it more, because I love me some science fiction, fantasy, all of that. That's kind of the way I lean more. So if you go in thinking that there's a lot more fantasy than there is to science or logic, then I think you're going to be disappointed. But there is fantasy in there, and everything wasn't quite explained at the end, which I quite like. I guess you have to kind of think what was going on there then. There's a couple of moments. I just thought it was a very enjoyable, quick watch. It's a one-time watch, 6 episodes, one and done. They're not going to draw it out. The acting is great. The cinematography is great. The score is good. Everybody looks in their period piece because it's late 1800s, authentic. And there's a couple of side stories, I think, that detracts from the main story that felt a little bit like it outstayed its welcome, or that didn't really get the fruition that we wanted. One in particular that comes into mind, and that's fine. I guess that's just to add a couple of notches into the characters, make it not just be about the main arc, and we probably would have been done in 3 episodes then, which also is fine, because the BBC often does like 3 episodes and done. Then people are left wanting more. This way they've done 1 in 6 episodes, 60-minute pieces, well, about 50 minutes per episode, and it's kind of done. So I'm going to give this 4 Nicolas Cages out of 5. It's not absolutely brilliant, but it is very good. I would put this on your, if you have Apple, or you're going to maybe test it out for a week. This is one of those I think you'll enjoy. It's a fantastic drama, well acted. It looks great, and I think you'll be intrigued enough to keep carrying on watching one episode to the next. I believe these are coming out weekly, so you can have little bite-sized chunks. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching this, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and choose.